Good morning, and thank you for joining us. Welcome to today's virtual meeting for local government. As many of you know, the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission is making changes and improvements. We're implementing laws adopted by the 86th legislature and updating rules. The agency is also launching exciting new technology for businesses. And September 1st is when many of these changes go into effect. So today we have TABC staff here to walk you through what all of these changes mean for local governments. You can also ask questions, type your questions through the Q&A feature, and look for the speech bubble icon with the question mark to open this feature. I'm Kevin Schwaller, Communications Manager here at TABC. When we get to that Q&A portion, I will be directing your questions to the appropriate subject matter experts to get you answers. But now I would like to hand this over to Jose Pineda with our TABC's licensing division to begin. Jose?
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate that. Good morning, everyone. Looks like we have about 143 attendees, so pretty good sized crowd here. Thank y'all very much for joining in. My name is Jose Pineda, Supervisor in the Licensing Division, and we want to welcome everyone that has joined today. We appreciate you for being here. On to next slide, please. On today's presentation, we're going to cover with you what is ames, our new licensing structure, local fees, 5% reimbursement, counties only, local certifications, local options elections, temporary events, and resources. And then, of course, Q&A at the end. So like Kevin mentioned, please feel free to start submitting your questions throughout the presentation, and then we will answer those. We'll hopefully have plenty of time at the end to answer your questions. So let's go ahead and get started with that. So like we mentioned, the Alcohol Industry Management System, or ames, is the Alcohol Industry Management System. We are only about 21 days from go live from September the 1st. So ames is taking the place of several current systems that we utilize for a wide range of functions. However, some of the primary functions are licensing, product registrations, excise reports, things like that. Also for our customers or our permit holders, pending application statuses that they can check on a 24/7 basis. Any kind of issues with the applications, we can correspond back and forth with them seamlessly. And then for the renewals and report deadlines, we also send out notices to them, to any of our current permit holders. Our hopes that are in the future, you all will be able to certify an application directly through ames. I think you're on the right slide right there. The new licensing structure, hang on right there for me, please. In 2019, the 86th legislature directed TABC to consolidate 75 licenses down to 37. Therefore, effective September the 1st, licensing will only offer 37 permits and licenses, and most businesses will need only one TABC license to operate. Many of the ones that went away, or should I say consolidated, were ancillary permits like a cartage permit, where they could make deliveries of product, or storage permits. And now a lot of those have now been consolidated into their primary permit, thus them only having, most businesses only having to hold one license instead of the 3, the 4, the 5 that they had to hold previously. Also, statutory fees and TABC surcharges are going away. TABC was required to establish new licensing fees. We now have a new chart on our public website showing those new fees for each license and permit. It is now available on our website. Things that we did consider when establishing these new licensing fees were things like the TABC's cost of operation, level of regulatory effort, new authorities included in each license, since now they'll hold a lot of those ancillary ones, and also the similarities among licenses and permits and what their authorities are. Next slide, please. For local fees, when we're looking at this chart here, it's very important to note that those fees that you see there on the right-hand side are for a 2-year period, okay? Some cities charge annually, so we need to be, clear that this is for a 2-year amount. There's been a lot of discussion by the agency and alcoholic beverage industry regarding permit fees in the last few months. 1 week ago, the Commission adopted Rule 33.23, which sets new fees for all permits issued by TABC. This was historic because through the sunset process 2 years ago, TABC was directed to adopt new fees and rule by September 1st, 2021 for all licenses and permits. These fees replace current fees in the code and surcharges in rule that will no longer be effective. The code sections 11.38 and 61.36 continues to authorize local governments to levy a fee of up to 1/2 of the fee set in the code as of August 31st, 2021 for licenses and permits issued within their jurisdiction. This means local governments will predominantly continue to use the same fee structure in the code from before September 1st as a basis for their local fees after September the 1st. There are 2 exceptions, however. As you can see there, the brewer's license and the brewer's self-distribution license. These 2 licenses are new starting September the 1st. A new law from the regular session authorized a local government to use the fee set in Rule 33.23 for these 2 licenses only. The same principles apply. The maximum fee a local government may levy is up to 1/2 of the fee in rules. Next slide, please. I think I have a slight delay on my end. Okay, for local fees. Continue. TABC will maintain the same resources on our website that local governments may use to identify new licenses and permits. Although the authority of a local government to levy a fee does not change, what will change September 1st is the overall number of licenses and permits due to the consolidation that we mentioned earlier, the merging and changing of licenses and permit types. For example, the caterer's permit, the beverage cartage permit, the minibar permit, package store tasting permit, and others will be eliminated September the 1st. Since TABC will no longer issue these permits, a local fee may not be levied. Additionally, late hours licenses and permits will no longer have the license or permit designation and will instead become a certificate under the law. Because of this, local governments may no longer assess a fee associated with the issuance of a late hour certificate. Next slide, please.
Jose, it looks like your computer might be in a little bit of a delay, but the slide's showing up for us. Jose, are you there? Did we lose your connection? Okay, if we lost Jose's connection here, we will keep going through this presentation. If there's anybody from the licensing division who is able to take over, go ahead. If not, I can pick it up from here. But is there anybody in licensing who has this up who could take over from here? Okay, then I will pick up here. Hopefully everybody can hear me. If you can comment in chat just to make sure y'all are still getting the feed coming through all right. So here we are looking at, again, the local fee example. So this is kind of recapping what Jose had here. Let me just pull up something very quickly. So again, the first fee you see is the new state fee. This was adopted last week by the commission. These, again, don't really have to do with local governments. This is the fee that businesses are going to be paying, as you see in the note here, with the exception of 2 permits here. What local governments really want to look at are these other fees, the maximum local fee and the fee in statute. So local governments will not use the fees recently adopted by the commission. They're going to use the fees set in code as of August 31st. I know I'm going over a little bit of what Jose already did, but just trying to make sure we have absolutely everything covered here. Apologize for that technical difficulty. So except for the 2 licenses, new licenses, all other permit types that exist on September 1st are going to have the current maximum fees that local governments can charge. Those will not be changing. So again, just 2 licenses that have exemptions. They're in section 11.38D of the code is where that is cited. So we will move on now over to non-payment of local fees. And if Jose is back up and running at any time, please let me know. So if we can go 2 slides ahead here, Joe. There we go, non-payment of local fees. So let's talk about those license and these non-payment of local fees. So license and permit holders that have not paid local fees and the process for collecting those fees. So as you can imagine, the licensing division gets several inquiries each week about non-payment of local fees from across the state. And we want to ensure that everyone is aware of the different avenues available for local governments for collection. So to check the status, you can go to our public website, and 1 second here. So TABC is unable to take any action to help with collection if the license or permit holder is not current or active. And then you make an attempt to collect the fees that are owed. Contact the license holder by phone, email, or mail to inform them about the consequences for not paying, and then contract with a third party to help collect unpaid fees owed to the city and county here. And again, I want to check to see if there's anyone from the licensing division here who can pick up from here with Jose being out. Either Sarah or Tana.
Yes, sir. Kevin, I can if you'll give me just a moment.
Yeah, thank you.
And Jose may be getting back on now. So if you do have a license or permit holder in your area that has not paid the required local fees, number one, as Kevin stated earlier, we ask that you check the permit status on our public webpage if they are still currently active. And Joe, you can go to the next slide. If they are still currently active, then you can email us, notice that they've not paid those fees, and we have a new email address that you'll need to make note of. It's city-county-fees-owed@tabc.texas-spelledout.gov. That is a different email address than you might have used in the past. For each of those businesses that is delinquent on paying the local fees to your government, the email should include the license or permit number, the business trade name, and the amount that the business owes you. In each one of those emails that you send us, you can include up to 10 delinquent license holders per email. But if you have more than 10, please send us additional emails. And then submit only one email for your city or county per week. That helps us, makes it a little bit easier for us to track those and put the appropriate notes on their files. And do not send multiple notices for a license holder. Once reported, we do make notes on their particular permit, and that license holder stays on our list until you notify our agency that liability has been paid. Once that liability has been paid, we do ask that you immediately notify us so that it doesn't hold up anything that might have to do with their permit. Joe, next slide, please. And I see Jose's back on, so I'm going to throw it back to Jose.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It kicked me out. I promise you guys, I wasn't trying to get out of it. What slide are we on? Counties only 5% reimbursement. Thanks, Kevin and Tana, for filling in. So do we cover the? Okay. Yeah. On this slide here, if the fees recently adopted by the commission do impact counties in terms of the statutory requirements for the agency to remit 5% of the fee collected for a license to the county tax assessor collector. Currently, the county receives 5% of the fee in code and a surcharge in rule. Effective September 1st, the county will receive 5% of the fee set in Rule 33.23 for these license types that you see on the left-hand side there. Next slide, please. And with the code stating license, TABC has incorrectly remitted the 5% of those fees to counties for a wine and beer retailer's permit, the BG, and the wine and beer retailer's off-premise permit, the BQ. Both are permits, not licenses, so TABC will no longer reimburse counties for these fees. The other changes are due to consolidation, merging, and changing of license and permits types. As mentioned previously, the late hours license merged with the late hours permits and are now designated as late hours certificate. The 5% only applies to licenses and not certificates. Next slide, please. And now we wanted to jump into the local certifications a little for the cities and counties. We know that you receive a lot of these throughout the year, so we wanted to take time to give you some information. Let's start off with our timeline here for applications that you will be seeing or are seeing now coming to your offices. One of the things I know on this slide, we have provided a breakdown of the timeline for August. So as you see there, August, September, and beyond, when it comes to these local certifications. For the month of August, local governments can still certify these applications, okay? We haven't stopped the certification process. You may have heard that we are not accepting applications right now during the month of August, but they are still able to get the applications, take them to your offices, and get those certified. Because they are still required to obtain those certifications, okay? Also in the month of August, we will not be accepting the new applications as mentioned. In September, if applicants wish to apply for a new permit on September 1st or after, they will be encouraged to use our new ames system. And when we talk about that one, next slide, please. When we talk about them submitting them in the ames system, the forms will have a similar look. So it will be familiar to you because a lot of the language and the verbiage is the same, but it may have a different layout. You can kind of see it there, not so much, but just to give you an idea of what they may look like when you're seeing them come into your offices after September. As a result of some recent industry feedback from some of your offices on our certification forms, we will be publishing newer versions on our public website in August. Our goal is to be able to have those same updates in ames in the very near future. In early September, we will be publishing additional guidance on our public website to assist local officials with proper certifications. Also, to assist local governments with certifications, we keep a wet and dry status archive. It's current as of May 2021 on our public website. This is updated from information received from local governments with their local option election information. And the information can be emailed to the local.options@tabc.texas.gov email address. And then just as a disclaimer, this list is not an official list, so you should always check your records or communicate with your attorneys just for more clarification on your latest option elections, or check with your county offices as well. Next slide, please. It's important to note that it's a certification process has not changed, as mentioned, for applications submitted via paper. However, the preferred method is going to be submission in ames after September the 1st. The best guidance we can offer for local governments and applicants when going through the certification process is that the cities and counties should be certifying these applications based off of the latest options elections. If local officials have questions on how they should certify, they may need to reach out to their attorneys. In many cases, the county clerk's office is the record keeper for the latest options elections results. Just to give you an example there on the second bullet, as you can see, if someone is applying for the BG with FB, BG itself, or the BE by itself, the percentage of the alcohol must also be certified. And that is one of the things we generally see missed on certification. Next slide, please. On the local options elections, the Sunset Bill will consolidate what is currently known as beer and ale into single malt beverage category as of September the 1st. Beer and ale will no longer be separate beverage classes under the Alcoholic Beverage Code. As a result of this change going forward, local jurisdictions will be unable to propose the sale of beer or ale only. Instead, elections must propose sale of all malt beverages. However, jurisdictions that are currently beer only are in essence grandfathered and will not have to change anything unless they hold a future local option election to approve the sale of all malt beverages. These jurisdictions will allow the sale of malt beverages having 5% or less alcohol by volume. Businesses as usual, unless the beer jurisdiction decides to propose a change to voters. TBC is required by the code to include language on the face of the licenses, so we will be printing 5% ABV or less on the face of those permits moving forward. Next slide, please. And we wanted to cover temporary events slightly because we know you have questions on some of those, and you do have applicants going to your offices about those events. The Sunset Bill revamped the permit structure for temporary events. Overall, the structure is greatly simplified, and TABC will only have one actual temporary event going forward. The 2-year license holders, for example, will no longer have to apply for or pay for a separate permit to hold temporary permits. For example, mixed beverages will be able to hold events at a temporary location without getting a catering permit or another temporary permit. MBs can currently access. For nonprofits, the only remaining temporary event permit for them, they will otherwise, those will be the only other kind that will be able to have an event other than a current permit holder. Sorry about that. So very little should change as far as you guys and local governments, because current businesses and nonprofits will still have to work with you to ensure their event does meet your local requirements. Our updated forms direct businesses and nonprofits to work with their local governments to obtain those approvals from you. These new forms are now available on the TABC website as of August the 1st. So some of you may have already seen some of those forms come your way. With that, I will hand it over to Kevin to talk about resources that are available to you all.
Great. So the first resource here is the TABC public website. Last year, we launched a new public website, and it is a great place for you to get the information you need about this. We've got downloadable information and forms, key resources, and contact information. About these local government changes, the changes that affect local governments, I should say, the page where you access this meeting is the page you're going to need to go to. This morning, right before the meeting started, that is the page where we published the maximum local fees chart. So if you revisit that page, you should be able to see that now. Now, if it's not showing up in your browser, it's because we just published it this morning. So all you have to do is open a new, fresh internet browser, a different one from the one you typically do, or clear your cache if you know how to do that, and the new updates will show up on that page. So that chart is there on the website now. And how do you get to that? If you don't remember, just type in tbc.texas.gov/2021. That will take you to our 2021 changes page. And then there's a button there for local government changes. And that's the page you want to navigate to. Finally, email TABC licensing division with any questions at licensing@tbc.texas.gov. Joe, can you move to the next slide, please? Okay, stay connected with us. Emails, we really want y'all to sign up for our email list so that we can send you this information. You can get it, but we have to make sure we have your email information in order to send you updates. So if you go to our website and click on the Contact Us button at the top, there's a section there for email sign up, and we have different sign up forms, whether you're a county or a tax assessor collector, whether you're a city or county clerk, a county judge. You can choose what your title is or which office you work in, and that will help us send you targeted communications so that you can get the updates as they are happening. So I really encourage you to go to our email sign up page and sign up for our emails. The TABC mobile app is still something that is available to users, and TABC Talks are going to give you a great baseline of information of all the changes that are happening. This, though, is going to be the presentation that is specific for local governments and talk about how those things that are covered in the TABC Talks affects local governments. Again, I appreciate everybody bearing with us through some of the technical challenges here. I hope this has answered a lot of your questions. We're now going to move into the Q&A section so that we can answer some of the questions that have been coming up. So, Joe, next slide, please. So this is one that's populated a lot in the questions field, and it is, will these slides be available? So the short answer is all of the information from the slides are going to be available. That page that I told you about, the local government changes page, we're taking all the information from the slides, and this week we will be publishing that to this web page. We'll also post a link so that you can watch the replay of this video on that page. So again, like I said, this is going to be your one-stop shop for everything September changes for local governments. So you want to go to this page, you can go back and watch this presentation. You're going to be able to see that maximum local fees chart and then see all the information from these slides as well. So this is where you need to go for that. The next question I have here is about how ames is going to affect license data. We'll post some more, see if we can get into some more specifics on that local governments page or in our FAQs. But in general, this one has to do with the Texas Open Data Portal. So when we launched our new website in September of last year, one of the tools that local governments used for looking at permits moved over to the Texas Open Data Portal. And so that there is plans to remain up. So you should still be able to use that. We will make sure to get you some more specific technical questions. There should not be any changes to that, but we will follow up with an FAQ on our website or on that page with some more information about that. We just got a question here. Let me just catch up with a couple that have come in. Those were the two main things we saw repeating in the questions coming up. So just give me 1 second here. Okay, this one I want to make sure it gets into some specifics. So if licensing, if you can look up some of these specifics here, but before we address the specifics, I just want to talk about the broad question of, Jose, are you able to just clarify again how the local certifications are going to work once ames goes live? So there are going to be forms you print off. Can you just talk about that one more time? And then licensing, if you can look and see if this is kind of a specific question on how that process works. And if there's an answer for that, we can get to that now during the presentation, but if not, we can follow up with it afterward.
Perfect. Yes, Kevin. Yeah, thanks for that question. So the way it's going to work is the applicant will go on into ames and they will get to a point in their application processes, which is towards the end, where they get ready to sign. And it will ask them a few questions to verify that they've filled everything out. And what it's doing is, since everything that they've supplied us on the application is going to populate the certifications that will print out for that particular applicant. So once they're able to download it, print it, they can either email it to your office if you're accepting those via email, or they will print it out and take it to your office in the same manner that they do now. Now, when they get them back from you, same thing applies. They can either send them back through ames. They're going to be able to upload them into ames. When they get them back from your offices, if you give them to them by email, or if they go pick them up, then obviously they have to take them and go upload them. Once they upload them into ames, then they're at the point where if they've provided us with everything else, which may be a publisher's affidavit, things like that, then they can make payment. Once they've done that, then their application is now finalized. And then that's the process, the local certification process, part of it when in ames. Does that answer that question there?
I think that covers the process. I just followed up with this person. We'll see if y'all are able to get to the specifics here in a minute, but if not, we can follow up via email afterward here. So I'm going to move on to the next question so that we can circle back to that one if we can. But will the existing mixed beverage fees be grandfathered like they were the last time, it says? So here, since it's for local governments, Jose, if you just want to talk about what those local government fees are, I think just the answer to that question will kind of be able to answer this more specific question that's come in. Sure.
So the fees will not be grandfathered. If that's the main question, they will not be grandfathered, and they'll still be in the same way you do it now. They will not be able to charge until the third year for those mixed beverage fees.
Great, thank you. So here's another one for you. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that does stay the same. Thank you.
Great, and like we mentioned before, if you want to know exactly what local governments can charge, we posted the maximum local fees chart to our website so that you can see that. The next question here is about temporary events. So can TABC confirm that temporary event permits will be free now is the question. That's over to you, Jose.
Will be free now. Let me send that over to Sarah. I'll send that over to Sarah so she can answer that one more specifically, okay?
Yeah, sure. So just to clarify, for existing TABC permittees, the ability to get temporary events has now been added to their authorized activities. The only time the agency will request a fee when it comes to permittees asking for a temporary event is if they file that request with the agency less than 10 business days before the start date of the event. For nonprofits, a temporary permit will still be required. The fee for that has slightly changed. But yeah, so that is the only difference. So for permittees, they do not have to request a permit that would necessarily require a fee. It's becoming an authorized activity automatically with their primary permit. For nonprofits, they do still have to request a temporary permit with the agency.
Great, thank you for that answer. And if you're looking for information, we do have some as well on our website. The page is currently titled Temporary Events and Permits because we are in August, which means we still have temporary permits for August events. So if you go to our website, there's information and new forms on our website now if you look for the Temporary Events and Permits page. Okay, this next question has to do with ames, and I think, Jose, you might want to provide some clarity about what ames means for local governments here. But the question is, will TABC be providing training on how to use ames?
Yes. The good news is that we will have plenty of training that will be provided. We have dates coming up here soon. I know Kevin has mentioned, when he mentioned the resources area, in the TABC 2021 changes section, as well as other sections, we will have updates for upcoming training sessions. For our current permit holders, we have them scheduled on different dates. A lot of times they're scheduled by the tier that they may be on, just depending on what kind of information that we're providing to them. There will be, I believe, opportunities, Kevin, also for like the city government, local governments to be able to participate in some of those. But I'm not sure if those are already scheduled.
Yeah, so this is the session for local governments. As far as ames, because local governments aren't going to be logging in to do anything at this point, there will be training provided for businesses and plenty of training materials posted to our website for ames. So local governments are welcome to go in and take a look at those. However, because you're not going to be logging into ames to accomplish tasks at this point, things are going to be maintaining as they are. You will not need a login to go in, which takes us to our second question here, which I can take this one to start this one, Jose, and then kick it over to you. This is somebody just wanting to verify that certifications, because of what I was just saying about ames, are still going to be paper and signatures at this point for city secretaries. This question, can you verify that?
Correct. They are going to be, throughout the process of looking at this new system, we did talk about trying to have it electronically. But as you can imagine, with being the 254 different counties and the setup and having to be able to have one platform to do that, it just was not obtainable right now. So we weren't able to do that. And that is why, yes, that they do have to be right now either emailed to you if you're accepting them like that from the applicant, or brought into your offices as they do now. So it is still going to be similar as far as when it gets to your office. That's correct. But maybe in the future, maybe we will have something where, like we say, you can connect with ames and the certifications can be done through ames and not have to go through that process that we're going through right now.
Great. The next question here has to do with changes also on September 1st, but somebody wanting to verify that local jurisdictions will not be able to charge for an FB, a food and beverage certificate. Is that correct?
Correct. That's correct, because that one is a certificate. That one falls under the certificate. Correct.
Great. I'm just catching up on some of these questions here. Just give me one moment. We've got a few questions again about the future of ames. We do have mainly licensing folks on the line here to answer your questions. So I think this is something we're going to need to develop for frequently asked questions to give you an idea of a better timeline. ames is constantly undergoing updates in the sense of there were future phases of ames that the agency is already looking at. Phase 1 is not going to have the local governments. I cannot give you a time frame on when and if local governments will be able to access ames in the future. That is one question we get. Can you certify ames? When do you think we can certify through ames in the future? When will and can local governments have access? I'm seeing that pop up quite a few times. So that's something I'm going to circle back with our ITD department and make sure we develop to get on our website so that we can give you a clearer answer on that. Okay, let's look for our next question here. This is one, Jose, if you can answer, this might be something you got to go back and look at as well, but will TABC help with the collection of fees for licenses that were issued prior to September, but the license will no longer exist in September? So for a license that's been consolidated, will there be any assistance as far as collection of local fees?
Collection of local fees for ones prior to September 1st. I don't know if can Marianne or Matthew speak to that? To that particular question there?
Yep, I can.
Thank you, Matthew.
Is it on?
It is.
Yeah.
We can hear
Oh,
you.
sorry. Hi. Unfortunately, that's just something that the agency does not have statutory authority to assist with the local governments to try to collect those fees that would be passed for older licenses or permits.
Great. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Just 1 second here. Again, a few questions coming in. I'm trying to be able to keep up with the ones that have come in here. Okay, so this was one, again, going back to fees. I think this is an important clarification. Jose, just can you again explain the difference between the fees in code, so 2-year fees in code, versus the maximum local fee chart that was posted online?
Oh, I mean, they're talking about the difference of the fees.
Yeah, the difference between what the fees in code are and the maximum local fee. So in this case, I think we're looking at mainly that the maximum local fee is 50% here, but if you can just explain where that maximum local fee is coming from and why it differs from the fee listed in code that businesses pay to the state.
Oh, correct, because those are going to be the new fees. So when we talked about the new fees being established, so we established those, and like Kevin mentioned, we do have that chart now. So now you can go see what the fees are, the new fees starting September 1st. So for all of the licenses that were available there on the one slide that we had up, I don't know if Kevin can pull that, or Joe, if you can pull that back up so they can see that one chart. But if not, any of those licenses will be the ones that where is that at? Not that one we're talking about. Go back to the one with it just gives them that one right there. So this is an example. So so for this package store permit, okay, the new fee is $1,800, like it says there. But the fee in statute right now for the 2 years is $1,000. Okay, so that's why it's showing there. These are the fees that are the ones that you would be more concerned about right now, would be these, because these are the fees that you are able to assess for this package store permit holder that's located in your jurisdiction. Not the new fee. So the new fee is going to be this. So you won't be able to charge, for example, the $900 for this one, because you're going off of the what's in statute prior to September 1st. Okay, and that's why that fee is the one that you like we say, you are still able to charge that, but that's what the fee is going to be. Did I cover that one?
I think so, yes. So the next one we have here is again about certifications, and this may be Jose talking a little bit about the fact that there's still paper, but it says, will the local city secretary be able to see the Texas comptroller signature? This person says that my city secretary will not sign the forms without that comptroller signature.
I'm going to shoot that one over to Tana and see if she can talk about that one a little bit.
Good morning. So it will kind of depend on how that applicant has applied with our agency. We still, even though we have our alcohol industry management system launching on September 1st to give our prospective business owners the opportunity to apply online, they can still file a paper application with us. So if that applicant chooses to use our ames system, your pre-qualification packet may look a little bit different than what you're used to seeing. You'll see some of the same information about the applicant and the address and what type permits they're applying for, but your certification page will only be a certification page specifically that says city secretary at the top or county clerk, whatever may be the case. So you likely won't see the additional certifications unless that applicant makes that available to you. On the other hand, you still may be getting a paper pre-qualification packet, but part of them being able to apply is that they have to have certifications from the city secretary if they're located inside the city, and the county clerk and the comptroller. We will not issue a permit without all three of those certifications being present if they're required. So while you may not see those pieces if they apply through the ames, we will verify that they have received all the certifications that they're required to have in order to issue that permit.
So Kevin's computer just crashed, so I'll go ahead and read one of the next questions.
Sure.
Matthew, this may be a good question for you. So this question is, can you talk about HB 1518 and how hotels will be able to sell alcohol to their guests 24/7?
I can give me a second. If we go to the next question, I can get back to that in just a bit.
Yeah, sure.
All right, next one. So pertaining to the discussion on the late hour certificate, how will this be separate from the pre-qualification packet?
Separate, it won't be separate if they apply for them at the same time. So kind of like they do now. So in ames, if they apply for them at the same time, then you'll see them at the same time when they present them to you. However, you may be talking about if they go and apply for it after the fact. So if they apply for it after the fact, there will be an availability for them, the permit holder, to apply for late hours, say 6 months after they got their permit and they realize, you know what, we want to stay open late. So they can go into ames and do a self-service transaction, apply for the late hours in the same manner that they do now. They will still have to get the certifications, take them to your office, and do them in the same manner that they would an original application. So great question on that one.
All right, I think Kevin may be back.
I am, yes. Did y'all already take the question there for legal, or if you guys want to pick up with the next question, I can jump in right after that.
Sure, yeah, we did. Let's see. Can a municipality charge a local fee for temporary events after 9/1?
If Banji wants to take that one, she can. or Mary Ann if you're on.
So I believe the question was, can locals charge for temporary events? So the only temporary permit that will exist after September 1st will be for nonprofits. But I do believe that locals may charge for, like, they may have their own special event permits or something like that. That's outside of our jurisdiction. So that's still up to local authorities. But in terms of the nonprofit, like the BH and the 3-day permit, and those no longer exist in a couple of weeks.
Correct. And I think Matthews, thank you, Mary. I think Matthew said he has something for that legal question earlier about the hotels.
Yes, okay, so what the new provision says in the code, it's section 105.091. So what it says is that a hotel bar may sell an alcoholic beverage to a registered guest at any time throughout the day. So that'd be 24/7. And then it defines a hotel bar as any license or permit that's located inside of the hotel that also provides for the on-premises consumption of alcoholic beverages.
Okay.
Thank you for that. We have a few questions still coming in just about this local government fees, the maximum fees chart, and where to find that on the website. So I will address that one. Jose, if you want to look and see if the next question that you want to answer after this while I'm answering. But that is, again, go to tbc.texas.gov/2021. Once you get to that webpage, there is a button you can press there for local government changes, and we have it posted there to make sure that it's easy for you to find and see. Again, there is another section of our website that has the TABC, the state fees for businesses, but that is different than the maximum local fees. So the maximum local fees, the fees that matter to government, are tbc.texas.gov/2021, and then click on the local government changes page. It's the same page that you used to get to this meeting. Say over to you if you have another question here to answer.
Yes, I think Tana had one about the signing of forms or something like that. Tana, did you have that one?
So there was a question about how to, if you will have to certify in the ames system unless they specifically print the forms and bring them to you. When our ames system launches on September 1st, it will not be set up to allow you to certify through ames. That is something that we hope to have in the future. So if they have used our ames system to initially start that application process, they will get a paper certification form that they will actually bring to your office for you to certify. And again, that form may look a little different from the pre-qualification packet you're used to seeing. And then once you've certified that, then they will go back to our alcohol industry management system and upload your certification to show that they've received it. But right now, that ames system will not be set up to allow our local officials to certify through that system.
Great. The next question I have here is, and Jose, are you able to go over what a local government would need to do to verify permits? There's a step here saying, can you go over the steps for local governments to verify permits? And if you just need a second to think about that, I will at least point to some of the resources that I know the governments use right now on our website. There is currently a page for county governments. We are going to be updating that page to include all local governments, but that has a bunch of resources on it. Things like the 4x6 cards, the link to the open data portal for the licenses and permits issued, all of the things that local governments are using now. And again, without Ames, with Ames being, I should say, aimed for businesses during this phase, local governments are going to continue to do what they do now. But is there any clarification that you can provide to that, Jose? Any other steps for verifying permits?
For verifying permits, I mean, I think you covered that unless, Tana, you had something additional to that for the verifying of their permits.
No, just using our public inquiry system to verify the status, as Kevin's discussed.
Correct. It's nice because you're able to break it down, obviously, by the city, county, permit types. So it does a great breakdown, lets you throw it into the Excel spreadsheet. So yes, it's just the same way. Great.
The next question we have is, will certificates or permits be issued for mobile alcohol vendors? An example here is a margarita truck. I don't know if that's something you can answer, Jose, or Matthew Cherry can answer. If not, it's something we can surely follow up on.
I can take that one, Jose.
Go ahead.
So we don't currently license mobile trucks or food trucks or things that drive around similar to ice cream trucks. In order for them to have alcohol in a vehicle such as a mobile food truck, they have to first have a permanent business address where their permit's issued just like any other restaurant or bar in your city. And then every time they want to leave their business, their restaurant or bar, and go to, put alcohol in their food truck or their mobile daiquiri truck and go to a special event, they have to apply for temporary event authorization or a FUN, which is a file and use notification. So they have to have permission in order to leave their primary premises with alcohol or authorization in order to go to that second address to provide alcohol beverage services.
Great. This is another question that for licensing here. It says, when reporting delinquent fees, do they need to know if ad valorem taxes are due as well? That's something for licensing.
Vanjie, can you take that one, or Matthew?
Yeah, can you repeat the question specifically? All I heard was it was about ad valorem taxes.
Yeah, it says, let me just scroll to it again. When reporting delinquent fees to TABC, do you need to know if ad valorem taxes are due as well?
Okay, yes. When it comes to those types of taxes, definitely send that in and let us know and report those to us.
Great. One second here, getting this back up and running.
Oh, Kevin, I do have something I can add to that as well.
Yeah, that'd be great.
For the actual fee that gets charged for the local fee charged for the permit, there's kind of a different reporting kind of timeline than there would be for anything like ad valorem taxes. So there was a change in the law recently, and as of now, TABC cannot go in and suspend or cancel a permit or license until that local fee is at least 180 days past due, which under the statute is 180 days past the date that it was actually levied. So if it's any time before then, you could technically still report it to TABC. However, we can't take any action on that permit or license until that 180-day period is passed.
Great. So the next question here is asking about the paper certifications. And this asks, it's from somebody who was trying to see if they can keep things digital. As it asks, is it okay for them to use Adobe to place their signature and seal stamp and then email it back? Is it possible to keep everything digital? They're trying to avoid having to print, sign, scan, and email. Jose, can you answer that one?
Certainly. I mean, for us, yes. Or Vanjie, go ahead and take that, Vanjie. I think you had something on that one.
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, so in regards to that question, as far as scanning the document, you would be able to communicate, or actually the applicant would download the form from Ames. And once they download the form from Ames, they can, if your procedure or your internal policy or procedure would be for the application to be submitted or the document to be submitted electronically, the applicant can go ahead and email it or scan it over to you directly with the email that you provide to them. You would then need to provide that document, notarize it, sign it, certify it, then provide that document back to your applicant so that they can log on to the AIMS system and upload that document as part of their application.
Great. Thank you very much for this. This is from somebody, again, getting back to temporary events, wants to confirm that the nonprofit temporary event permit will still fall under the state fees, so be based on the fees in statute.
Can you take that one, Tana? Or Marianne?
I'm going to let Mary Ann.
Okay, I believe the question is about the nonprofit entity temporary event permit, the longest permit name. That is a new permit effective September 1st. And that fee was set by rule back in the fall at $50 a day with a 2-day minimum. So I think technically local governments could charge for that. But again, it's $50 a day. But it is non-exempt right now. Temporary event permits are exempt from local fee charges. That was not carried over for the nonprofit entity temporary event permit.
Great, and this is one more that might be good for you, Marianne, and this is the last question we're going to take for now because we're going to be wrapping up this meeting. We know we have some more pending questions here, so we'll make sure to use these to, if there are a lot of common questions, to make sure we get those into frequently asked questions or add information to our website to be able to answer some of these questions we've seen coming in. But the last question here has to do again with fees. So the mixed beverage fees, it asks, are they still exempt for 3 years? And are they going to be tiered for renewals? Again, a question about mixed beverage fees after September 1st. What are those going to look like for local governments?
So right now, according to the code, before September 1st, it is tiered. So there's a fee that one would pay for the first 2 years of their permit as an original, and then a different fee for the first renewal, and a different fee for the second renewal, and a different fee for third and subsequent renewals. That will continue from the perspective of local governments, because local governments are still referring to the fee listed in the Alcoholic Beverage Code as of August 31st of this year. So y'all will continue to use that schedule. They are still exempt for the first 3 years of the permit. As far as the permittee, they will pay a different fee. They will pay one fee as an original applicant, and then one fee for all renewals. That's what they will be paying to us. But for local governments, you keep that same tiered structure of original, first renewal, second renewal, and third and subsequent. And that's all laid out on that document that we keep referring to on our website that it lays it out really well.
Thank you very much. We definitely still have some questions pending here, but like I said, we were going to use those to come up with some of the information that we know we're going to need to post on the website based on these questions. I have copied them down so that our subject matter experts can take a look at them. Thank you everybody for joining us today. I apologize, my video is now having trouble, so lots of technical issues we encountered here. Again, I appreciate it. Jose, is there anything you wanted to say before we close up here?
I think that's it. I just wanted to touch on one because I think I saw a couple of people, and like I said, we're not able to cover all of them during this session, but about there being a designee in the city secretary's signature. So we'll definitely look into that. I think I saw 2 or 3 that mentioned we only have city secretary on there, but sometimes it may be their designee. So that's something we'll definitely look at. So thanks for those questions on that. And no, like Kevin said, we really apologize for the technical difficulties we had. We will get these, we'll start going through the questions and look and see what we have there so we can add them to our FAQs. Pay, and then we do have that new email that we mentioned earlier for the fees owed. Once you are at the point where you're going to send them to us, and should be live now, I believe, as of yesterday. And it is that city-county fees owed. And then that way, when we get them, we know exactly what they're coming in for. Other than that, thank you guys very much for joining in to us today.